You know why I'm waiting. We have technical difficulties because the script is too big to fit the screen. And I'm going to start the old-fashioned way. Good morning, and welcome to First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church. That may be the next to the last time I ever say those words publicly. Next week we vote on our name change, and then our greeting will be different. My name is Annie Furster, and I minister to this changing, growing, beautiful congregation.
The weather's a little cooler this morning than it has been, making this a beautiful day to go out on the patio with your coffee and treats after the service.
Good idea. 2 weeks ago, we had a sermon writing workshop out there in the patio, and it was delightful. It may be a little warmer by today, but who knows. Yesterday, we were supposed to finish that workshop with practice and graduate about a dozen lay preachers, but there was an important march, and most of those people went on that march. I'll talk about that later. So that graduation will be delayed until next Saturday.
Today, the board meets in the parlor at 1. As always, you are welcome to join us to see what goes on at a board meeting or to bring some important topic to our attention. Next week, as Annie mentioned, May 22nd, will be our May congregational meeting in which we vote on the budget and anything else the congregation thinks is important, which this time is our name change.
And in 2 weeks, our worship service will be our annual spring concert by the choir. Do not miss it.
Do I have some additional announcements?
I don't have any.
I don't see any.
Then let us begin our worship with music. Misha?
Aren't we lucky to have Misha? Let beauty in. Let beauty in like waves lapping on the shore, covering the beach with foamy glee and soaking the sand like an embrace.
Let beauty in. Let beauty in like the first sunshine after a cloudy day, filling hearts and homes with a radiance that brings delight.
Let beauty in. Let beauty in like a wrapped gift from the Spirit of life herself as she offers it to us.
Behold what creation can do. Behold, this is love made real that you can touch and taste and smell around you.
May all that is pleasing and exquisite be nurtured here in our time of worship.
May the magnificent pull toward all that is divinely pleasing hold us close. May the sacred pulse within this space be in this space as we welcome in the beauty. Please join us in singing our opening hymn, number 61. It will be on the screen. Lo, the earth awakes again.
We join together, bringing both our shadow and our light.
We join together, opening our minds and our hearts.
We join together, embracing, celebrating, sharing.
The beauty of each, the beauty of self, the beauty of the earth, the beauty of all. Marianne, would you please lead us in the affirmation this morning?
Love is the doctrine of this
The
church.
doctrine of this church.
The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer.
To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom,
to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus we covenant with one another.
Please be seated. I usually start the morning service with a question or two, and my questions this morning are, What is beauty that we should nurture it, as the title of our sermon says? What is its cause and what is its purpose? Now, in your order of service, there is to be a story for all ages, but I'm going to add a little something today, extra. During the early adult education, there was a speaker here by the name of Kevin van Atzingen. Did I do that right? And he has agreed to tell us a little bit of what he talked about there. He is the one his organization is the one with whom we are sharing the plate for this quarter, TLC, and he's going to tell us what that stands for and what it is they do. Kevin, please come up and use this microphone here.
Well, thank you for having me. Quite frankly, a little nervous. I've never been on this stage like this before. Definitely more from my middle brother, who's accustomed to doing this kind of stuff. So just really appreciate that we have a moment to come up here and share with you what Tarrant Literacy Coalition is. And more importantly, that you're open and inviting to have us here. So I just really appreciate that. I haven't bumped into every single one of you, but I guarantee the people that I did cross paths with said hello, and that was really heartwarming and just welcoming, so thank you for that. So what does Tarrant Literacy Coalition do? What we do is we empower adult educators and the learners. What that means is we help provide resources to those who want to teach and then connect the learners to where they can be taught. We have a few different things that we do. We have direct programs where we're actually organizing the classroom settings and hosting the students. And then we also have programs where we partner with other organizations throughout the Tarrant County, And what that looks like for us right now is we're actually helping facilitate the flow of over 6,000 students. That's the goal for this year, to bring on to programs for adult education. And that's through our partners with Fort Worth ISD, Arlington ISD, the Arlington Public Library, and then Tarrant County, or TCC as well. So we have a number of different things that Tarrant Literacy Coalition does, but it's all in the vein of adult literacy. And then I learned a new word today, comically, numeracy. I was kind of lumping everything into literacy, but Wes Young, our executive director, who was able to present to a smaller group today, shared that light with me. And it's funny, I'm a banker, so I should have known about numeracy. Obviously didn't, so bad on me. I thought before I kind of wrap it up here, I'd share a little bit about why Tarrant Literacy, what drew me into Tarrant Literacy. So before I joined, which was now going on almost 4 years ago, I was part of a group called Leadership Fort Worth, where I had the opportunity to really learn what it meant to be actually a steward of the community and to contribute to nonprofit organizations. And I see much of what happens in a church also very community driven, right? What was great about that is they gave us the opportunity to actually get connected with nonprofits in the Tarrant County area. And TLC was one of those organizations. You sit down, and the program was interesting. You kind of do a little speed date setting where you're talking with the executive director for about 2 minutes, maybe 2 to 5 minutes, and you're cycling in and out. Well, I was right there, and I had never heard of Tarrant Literacy Coalition, but at that moment, it all came rushing to me and dawned on me kind of the impact that you really do make on adult learners, which then trickles down to children. And I thought about how that impacted me in my life. And my brother, 14 years my senior, he was, got in trouble as a kid, didn't really hang out with the right crowd, and ended up not finishing high school and going to jail. And I remember being a young kid going to visit him and just learning, like, what choices did you make to get here? And as I got older and we started having more meaningful and deeper conversations, he said, I made the wrong choices and it got me there, but then once I was actually focused and put my head down, he got his GED. He ended up getting out and working for Trinity Industries and making a name for himself. And now he has people that believe in him and follow him. So when I see adult education, I see a lot of my brother in those stories. So, sorry, didn't anticipate getting choked up there. Anyway, to that though, I think about what it means for us going forward and for what Tarrant literacy is. And Wes shared some really interesting stats today, that the numbers are actually up from 20% to over 25% of adults in Tarrant County do not have the capability of classifying as being literate. And that is just unbelievable that 1 of every 4 people you cross might be struggling with this. And that's why we're here to just share that, because that's what we really try to do, is bring solutions to the table to help solve that problem. So I'll kind of wrap it up here, which is, for us anyway, there's a few things that I'm hoping to get out of this, and it's time, it's donations, or that's actually a voice. From a timing standpoint, we are open to volunteers or board members if anybody's interested in contributing their time that way. I'm happy to have a conversation. On the donation front, monetary is great, also our in-kind. I think the donation plate goes around, we all know what that means, but I'm also curious about what you have in your mind to come and sit down and collaborate and talk with us. What services can you provide, or what relationships do you have maybe that can help us continue to move the needle forward? And then the last part is the voice. Without the awareness of what we do, then we're never going to get to where I believe that we can go, which is moving that number from 25 back down to 20%. And then going backwards from there. So I really appreciate the time here, and I'll wrap it up. I think I hit my 5 minutes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Kevin. I think that made it more clear to us what it is we're collecting. And there are 3 things I want to share with you. We are collecting, we share the loose change and bills in our plate through April, May, and June. So but at the end of June, I hope you come back and we can give you a check. Yay! And for not having been experienced with doing this kind of public speaking, this is the second thing. You did very well. But third, as I tell my students in my sermon writing class, don't ever start a speech off apologizing for what you're going to do next, because that puts people in the mindset that, I don't want to listen to this. Just a little bit of wisdom you can take home today. I'm sorry, I just can't resist things like that. So now it's time for the story for all ages. And those of you who would like to sit with the storyteller, please come up and share this space. What happened to our little ones today? I don't know. Well, thank you all for being here. Yes. Well, and you notice I now have a chair for storytelling. Carl suggested this because it makes me look more queenly and like a storyteller. Also, it's harder and harder for me to get up off the stairs because they get lower and lower. I think they're sinking into the ground. All right, the story for all ages. This is about a young man who was standing in the middle of the town proclaiming that he had the most beautiful heart in the whole valley. Now, this is an old folk tale, and the story doesn't tell us how people could see that he had this beautiful heart, but he was going to show it to them. So let's move the script. The teleprompter is not moving. The teleprompter is moving. A large crowd gathered in the town, and they all admired his heart, for it was indeed a perfect heart. There was not a mark or a flaw on it. But an older man appeared at the front of the crowd and said, "Your heart is not nearly as beautiful as mine." And the crowd looked at the young man, and then they looked at the older man's heart. It was beating strongly, but, it was full of scars. It had places where pieces had been removed and other pieces put in, and they didn't quite fit, and there were several jagged edges. And the young man looked at the older man's heart, and he laughed. "You must be joking," he said. "Compare your heart with mine. Mine is perfect, and yours is a mess of scars and tears." "Yes," said the older man, "yours is perfect looking, but I would never trade my heart for yours. You see, every scar represents a person to whom I have given my love. I tear out a piece of my heart and I give it to them. And often they give me a piece of their heart which fits into the hole where I tore out that empty place. But because the pieces aren't exact, there are some rough edges. And sometimes I've given away pieces of my heart and the other person hasn't returned a piece of theirs. So there are empty places and gouges because giving love means taking a chance. So although these gouges are painful and they stay open, reminding me of the love I have for these people too, and I hope someday they may return my love. So now do you see what true beauty really is? And the young man stood silently with tears running down his face. And he walked up to the older man and he reached out into his own perfect young heart. And he tore out a piece and offered it to the older man. And the older man took his offering and placed it in his heart. And then he took a piece from his old scarred heart and placed it in the wound in the young man's chest. It fit, but not perfectly, as there were some jagged edges. And the young man looked at his heart, not perfect anymore, but more beautiful than ever, since love from the older man's heart flowed in to his. I kind of like that story. That's an allegory. I mean, you can't really see someone's heart, but you can see the love that they give to each other, can't you? Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing that with me. And now we will sing you back to your corner where you share the service with us. Thank you.
We all have so many needs. 1,000 prayers, 1,000 needs that really only need one answer. Let the world not be indifferent. And may we live and be with each other in a way that shows this truth, whatever the day brings, that neither are we indifferent to each other. Our Share the Plate offering goes this week to the Tarrant Literacy Coalition, who also joined the Adult Forum this morning to discuss their work in the community. As the greeters pass among us, please be generous.
Our topic this morning is beauty. Life is beautiful, nurturing beauty. When I first stood before the congregation of my first church almost 40 years ago, I had a disturbingly unkind and unloving thought. They were, as I gazed out at them, remarkably plain people. Not unattractive, but certainly not lovely. And the thought flitted across my mind, and I saw no use for it and let it go. Actually, I was quite embarrassed that I'd even had it, and I tried not to think of it again. Oh, until 9 years later, when I was saying goodbye to that congregation. And for some reason, I suddenly recalled that unkind thought and was totally amazed by it. Amazed at myself. How could I have even thought such a thing? They were the most beautiful collection of people I had ever met. Their faces shone with love, sparkled with creativity, radiated with caring. I wanted to memorize those beautiful faces and take that image with me. So why am I telling you such an embarrassing story? Because I had learned something from it. I never again looked at a new congregation with such a mindset, never looked at any audience, not a crowd, nor a coven of one. I learned to see the beauty written on faces by time. I learned to see the beauty I would discover more clearly when I knew these people better. The lack of beauty was not in them. It was in myself. And I've noticed this conundrum of whether beauty exists in the human form in another way as well. Did you ever meet someone when they were in their later years, and after you had known them for a while, happen to see a photograph of them when they were younger? And my first thought is always this: they were so unfinished. And my second thought, or maybe an addendum to the first, is they're kind of like unbaked bread. They're kind of raw. Young faces are raw, not unbeautiful, please don't mistake me, but mostly untouched by the heat of life. And that's when you know you have learned what beauty really is, and that it exists in the human animal at every stage of life. Unfortunately, many of us who do practice this kind of seeing, who understand the effect of knowing someone over time and seeing their imperfect yet beautiful heart, often fail to do it in front of their own mirror. Think about how many apologies you've heard from someone for the way they look. Oh, I look so old. As if an apology is necessary for that splendid feat. Or my mother used to do this. If I could just get this much taken off. It's the beauty propaganda that does it to us, takes away our appreciation that we are truly beautiful. I was a product of the movies of the 40s. The women in them were very glamorous, very sophisticated. Some of you know who I'm talking about: Barbara Stanwyck, Katharine Hepburn, Rita Hayworth, Lana Turner. These were my role models. They walked into a room and the conversation stopped. They knew how to hold a cigarette, how to extend their hand, how to walk, how to dress. Oh, they had glamour. They had the sophistication that I strove for. And all I ever had was, I was cute. Or so I was told. I dreamed someday of growing out of my cuteness, growing into the glam I was going to develop one day. I never made it. Recently, I overheard someone call me a cute little old lady. You know, I fear going to the doctors lest she tell me, Annie, your time has come. You have an acute case of cuteness. It's all over. But then I remember something else my mother used to say when she wasn't standing in front of the mirror, wasn't commenting on her own time-worn face. When someone would ask her how she was, she would say, "Oh, not bad for an old broad." It's a step up, really, it is. Think about it. I find it useful. Every morning I pass my mirror on the way to the shower and I stop and I look at my still sleepy eyes and my pillow flattened hair and I remember to smile at myself. I fluff my hair and I say to my reflection, "You're looking good. Not bad for an old broad." And I start my day in a beautiful frame of mind. I came across a poem recently by Canadian poet Shane Coyson, and I'm going to copy it and I'm pasting it on my mirror. It goes like this. And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer and stare a little longer, because there's something inside you that made you keep trying despite everyone who told you to quit. You built a cast around your broken heart and you signed it yourself. You signed it. They were wrong. You are beautiful. Say it. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. And join me in singing hymn number 1053 in the Teal hymnal. How could anyone? Please be seated.
Let's look at beauty from another angle. Beauty of nature is seen through the eyes of Mary Oliver, or your eyes, for that matter. Have you ever seen anything more wonderful than the way the sun every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea, and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower, streaming upward in its heavenly oils, say on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. Or have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you? As you stand there empty-handed, or have you too turned from this world, or have you too gone crazy for power, for things?
I really like that poem. You know that Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets. And when I sent the draft script to Mary Ann, she wrote back and said, "Thank you for letting me read that." She did not know how I struggled to give it to her. You did very well, thank you. I love painting. Not pictures, no, I'm not good at that kind of painting. I love painting walls. I mean, where else can you get such instant feedback for your effort? How else can you turn something drab into something beautiful? Instant gratification. One stroke of paint and your heart starts to beat faster. yes, I am going to love this color, and it's going to be beautiful. And then it is. And you know what else I love? I love gardening. Where else can you work at something, really work hard with your whole body and your entire mind? I mean, plowing and digging and smoothing and planning and planting and watering, and then in a maddeningly sweet slowness, have it turn into something breathtakingly beautiful. And you want to say, I did that. I did that, but you aren't sure that you can take credit for it. I mean, you only planted the seed or that which was already grown in a pot. Yet without you, what would it be? Black dirt full of weeds. You can take credit, but only if you nurture the beauty that exists in possibility and brings it forth like a marvelous birth. And yet I cannot tell you what beautiful is. I cannot define it for you. You know, many of my neighbors have sweeping green lawns, perfection on a daily basis, and there isn't a dandelion in sight. Oh, I hate them. All the leaves of the grass are the same height. No imperfections pervade their landscape. And yet I have to admit, I find them boring. Not the kind of beautiful my heart yearns for. My own front yard is far from perfect. The original plan exists in my mind, lovely and sweet, but it doesn't exactly match the one you will see if you visit. You see, to me, lawn grass is a weed. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but that's the way I feel. Instead, I have a landscape filled with trees and shrubs and flowers and ground covers and a few weeds and grass that insists on growing back. But I find the imperfection of my unsmooth landscape, the bumps of bushes, the triumph of trees, the colorful flush of flowers, to be the most beautiful thing I can do for the world. And the world gives back to me in equal measure or more. Every morning I go out at dawn so that on the road with Liam I can witness the sunrise. Liam, you know, is my puppy. Like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, as Mary Oliver said. It is my daily blessing. I've learned to see through the clouds enough to believe the sun is there even when we can't see it. But the day when the sky lights up with color is a special gift of beauty, just for us, who are usually the only ones watching in my neighborhood. And don't bother to tell me that the color in the sun reflecting is the sun reflecting on dust and smog in the air. I don't care. It's beautiful. Monthly, I watch for the full moon. It's coming this weekend. Another blessing of beauty, but I also find something breathtakingly courageous and beautiful about the tiny crescent moons that peek from either side of the Earth's shadow twice a month. There are so many gifts of beauty in the landscape. At least the landscape humankind hasn't put out of business with fortress or prison-like apartment buildings and air-polluting factories. Even some of the concrete monstrosities we replace the view with have a kind of beauty all their own. Some days you have to search for beauty, but if you believe in it, if you really open your eyes and look, it is there. I've told you, I think, about my mentee Noah, a South Korean lad who was in this country for a year while his father went to school. Well, he's back in South Korea now, but we still talk once a week by the way of Zoom. And we really had to think about our schedules when he returned home. Now I dial in at 7 p.m. on Friday evening and catch him as he finishes his breakfast the next Saturday morning at 8. He turned 10 in January, but according to the news, next year he will turn 10 again. You see, South Korea up until now has used the Asian system of counting a child's age at the moment of birth as 1. But their new president, Yoon Suk-yeol, is considering changing that to be in sync with the rest of the democratic world. They too will start from zero if this bill passes. Well, when Noah moved back to his native land, we both realized how much larger and more beautiful the world is than we had really acknowledged in our minds. I will say, I sent you the sun a few hours ago, and he will say, I'll send it back when I'm done with it. We became more aware of the grandeur of our planet and its system of sun and earth and moon. And we became aware of the truth of the saying, if a butterfly flutters its wings in Brazil, it could cause a tornado in Texas. We are seeing things more clearly with this awareness, and we find more beauty more available. Lately, Noah has become intrigued with clover. He stops and he searches every patch and has made quite a collection of 4-leaf clovers, which includes one 5-leaf clover and one with only 3 leaves, but shaped as if they were an individual Valentine heart. This week he told me he had found an 8-leaf clover, and he showed it to me, and they were there. He wraps them in plastic to save them, to show to me every week. Aren't they beautiful, he asks me, not really asking for an answer. Every week we write a short story for one another, for that is the area in which I am mentoring him. This last week the topic was to be about something real, not a made-up hero or heroine. He wrote 4 short stories, one about each of his most recent 4-leaf clovers. The stories were beautiful as the plants themselves. You don't have to look far to find beauty, and it takes only a little bit of effort on your part to create beauty of some kind. Look for it in the sky or on the ground or in the mind of a child. Create it yourself. When you find it and point it out to another, when you create it and encourage it, then you are nurturing beauty, and the world will reward you for it. Not make you famous, no. Just give you a better eye to see the beauty that is already there. I want to stop now and talk about the beauty of the stories that live in this community, but let us start with a prayer that beauty is our birthright. Let us be in a moment and spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, sometimes we awake in the morning with a heaviness in our chest. Sometimes we awake in the morning with the endless to-do list rattling through our thoughts, the nagging reminders of what was left undone yesterday, and the pangs of I have to do it all again today, pinching at our insides. Sometimes we awake in the morning and we'd rather go back to sleep. We would rather escape under the covers, a rock, the bottom of the closet. And then the first sliver of sunshine may dance across our face, beautiful. And then the wafting scent of a new day may glide over us, beautiful. And then signs of life blossom around us to include inside of us, beautiful. Beauty is our birthright, just as we are born to love, through love, to love. Amen. Every week we put this book out in the entryway for people to share their stories, to tell us what's going on in their lives and in their homes. Yes, would you please light the candles for these stories? Paul Chapman wrote, "Brava and bravo to the women and men who marched yesterday in Fort Worth, and boo hiss to the local media for their scant coverage." Thank you, Paul. And this from Mary Kerwin, who was at this march along with 11 other people from our congregation. First Jefferson organized 12 people and went to the Bands Off Our Bodies rally yesterday at the Tarrant County Courthouse. We represented well to speak out against a potential reversal by the U.S. Supreme Court of Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose. Now we wait and see what happens next. I think one way that the Unitarian Universalists can help is to keep educating and up our game on our whole lives training and classes. I look forward to more organizing and actions with church people in the future, because being together in solidarity helps build a strong and vital community. Ah, Mary, that is so true. So let us take a moment to think about the stories that live in this community. Go if you want to light a candle in the meditation area, or just sit in silence and appreciate the beauty of the lives that exists in this beloved community. Christopher D. Sims is a Unitarian Universalist lay minister in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a poet and a peace activist. The Reverend David Breeden is a Unitarian Universalist parish minister in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And together they wrote a poem titled, "Beauty Is." It's kind of a rap. I'm warning you that, because it will surprise you otherwise when I start out. Hey, what do you want to talk? You want to talk beauty? Here's what I want to talk. Beauty is what I'm going to talk. Beauty is. Beauty is. Beauty is brown and white and yellow, red-skinned people acting as kin. Beauty is within. Beauty is hymns, holistically reaching us, holding us all. Beauty is the fall of stereotypes, accessing human rights, the call for justice in the day and in the night. Beauty is. And beauty does. Do you want to talk beauty? Here's what I want to talk. Beauty is you. Beauty is us. Beauty is us together. Beauty is, and it shuts the hate down. Yeah, beauty isn't just something you look at or create for other people to look at. Beauty is what you do when you fall in love with the world and discover it isn't perfect, but it could be. One form of this kind of beauty is seeing all shades of melanin, the pigmentation that darkens the skin when you stay out in the sun too long, or is a natural part of your inherited pigmentation, as equally beautiful and delightfully different. Wouldn't it be sad if we all looked exactly alike? And isn't it even sadder that we can't be different without causing pain or creating it for some other people? Beauty shuts down hate. I want to believe that. No, I do believe that. And if you believe beauty shuts down hate, then you want to be a part of that. It's part of the pattern. Learn to see beauty. Believe in it as much as you can. Believe that it's part of you. Learn to create it, teach it, pass it on. Learn to appreciate it. Then join the beauty in you with the beauty in us, because beauty is togetherness in community, and together we can shut down hate. Hatred is creating a law that demands enforced pregnancy. Hatred is a point of view that sees hierarchy of rights and privileges. Hatred is belief that life has so little value that bringing unwanted children into the world to suffer a life without love, or with abuse at home and abroad, or no place in the world to call their own, is a moral thing to do. I have good news to share with you. I've already shared part of it, but this is my take on it. We, this community, called for one more week, First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church, is putting together a new social justice committee. Isn't that beautiful? The board, which is meeting this afternoon, will put the final finishes on it, voting on its chair or co-chairs, and then you will be able to join the committee itself, or join in the beauty it wants to create in this world, in this state, in this community, to shut down hate. The philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote, "In difficult times, carry something beautiful in your heart." And these are indeed difficult times. They are times that require courage and commitment and hope and self-love. And all of these are sustained by beauty. We find the courage to fight after falling in love with a beautiful vision to fight for. We maintain a commitment only by finding the beauty that nourishes us. We hold on to hope because experiences of beauty remind us that something in the universe is on our side. We withstand dehumanization when rooted deeply in the beauty of our own dignity. It is one of the most important secrets to successful social change and social survival. When we carry beauty, it carries us. Look at it this way. There is a saying we've all heard before: beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's not true, not even a little bit. It's a cop-out. Beauty is all around you, and the opportunity for creating more beauty is also all around you. And your job is to find it. Your job is to acknowledge it. Your job is to pass it on. Your job, your moral obligation as a member of this beautiful world is to nurture beauty. How you choose to do it is up to you. Look in the mirror and feel better about yourself. Look around you and learn to see what is right before your eyes. Create it and give it away as a gift. Or join others to shut down hate, to banish ugliness, to inspire justice, one of the most beautiful values that we can hold together. Please join me in singing our closing hymn to remind us that life has loveliness to sell. If you're using the hymnal, it's hymn number 329. Our chalice has burned as a symbol of our togetherness. The helper candle, the lights of our stories that live in this community, the beauty of our togetherness. We can extinguish because we take them home in our hearts and our minds. Oh, I feel like I'm in a Catholic service. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument and let the beauty we love be what we do, for there are 100 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. So may it be in all our lives. Please join us for coffee and conversation in the library.